The cafe was quiet that afternoon, the soft hum of conversation mingling with the clatter of cups and the faint scent of coffee beans. A young girl with a single leg carefully maneuvered her crutch through the narrow aisle, her movements deliberate and cautious. She paused near a table where a man, seemingly in his late 30s, sat alone, hunched over a laptop, his coffee untouched. Her heart thumped nervously. She hadn't meant to intrude, but there were no other open seats nearby. She hesitated, her hand gripping the crutch tightly, then lifted her gaze toward him. "Can I sit here?" she asked softly, almost afraid of disturbing him. The man looked up, surprised at the sudden interruption. His eyes softened when they met hers, and he noticed the careful way she balanced herself, the faint tremor in her hand as she gestured toward the empty chair. A warm smile spread across his face. "Of course," he said, moving his laptop slightly to make room. "Please, sit." She lowered herself onto the chair with careful precision, keeping her crutch close. For a few moments, they simply watched each other, two strangers connected by a fragile, unspoken curiosity. He noticed the way her eyes flicked around the cafe, wary but observant, and the gentle way she adjusted her notebook on the table. You like to draw?" he asked, noticing the sketches she had already started filling the notebook with, small, intricate drawings of people, animals, and little imagined scenes. She nodded shyly, her eyes downcast. "Yeah, I can't run or play like other kids, but I can draw anything I imagine," she murmured. There was a quiet pride in her tone, but it was tinged with sadness, as if she feared her talent might not be enough to matter. He leaned back slightly, studying her drawings. "These are incredible," he said genuinely. "You have a real gift." She blinked, clearly not used to such straightforward praise. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The cafe noises seemed to fade around them, leaving a small bubble of calm. Then he added gently, "I can see how much care you put into each line. That says something about who you are." Her lips trembled, and she swallowed hard, a quiet glimmer of tears threatening. "No one's ever said that to me," she whispered, voice barely audible. He nodded, feeling a surge of empathy and warmth. "Then hear it now," he said softly. "You're talented, and your work, it's extraordinary." In that small corner of the cafe, a connection was made, a simple act of kindness, recognition, and understanding that left the girl blinking back tears, unsure if she'd ever felt this scene before. After a few moments of quiet, the girl hesitated, then slowly lifted her notebook. She flipped a few pages, revealing sketches that were even more detailed than the first ones. Each drawing seemed to tell a story: children playing, streets bustling with life, animals mid-leap, and imaginary worlds that felt almost real. The man's eyes widened with admiration. "These are amazing," he said, his voice filled with genuine awe. "You have an incredible imagination." She looked at him, her eyes wide and vulnerable. I try," she whispered. "Sometimes I feel like I'm different from everyone else. Like, maybe people won't understand me." He nodded knowingly, his gaze softening. "Being different isn't a weakness," he said. "It's what makes you unique. It's what makes your art, you." She studied him, sensing a kind of warmth she rarely experienced from strangers. "You really think so?" she asked quietly, almost afraid of being wrong. "Yes," he replied firmly. "I can see it in the way you put thought into every line. In how you capture things most people wouldn't even notice." He gestured toward a drawing of a small girl sitting alone on a park bench, her shadow stretching behind her. "You notice the details others miss. That's a gift, and it's rare." Her lips trembled as a tear slid down her cheek. "No one's ever noticed me like this," she admitted, voice cracking. "Most people just see what I can't do, not what I can." He reached across the table, gently placing a hand near hers, but not quite touching, giving her space while offering comfort. "Then let me be the first to notice," he said softly. "I want you to know that your art, your talent, it matters. And more importantly, you matter." For the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to relax. She smiled, a small, fragile smile, but one filled with gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered. "Really, thank you." The man nodded, his eyes meeting hers with a mixture of empathy and encouragement. "Sometimes, all it takes is one person to believe in you. To see the light in you when others don't. That's enough to keep you going." She looked down at her notebook, tracing the edges of her sketches, and for the first time, she felt a sense of pride that wasn't tinged with fear. A seed of confidence had been planted, a quiet understanding that her abilities, her heart, and her courage were all worthy of recognition. In that simple cafe, amidst the ordinary hum of life, something extraordinary had begun. A bond, fragile yet profound, built on understanding, kindness, and the unspoken promise that she was no longer invisible. The afternoon sunlight streamed through the cafe windows, casting warm patterns on the table where the girl and the man sat. The girl's hands trembled slightly as she turned another page in her notebook, revealing a drawing of a small, vibrant garden filled with flowers, birds, and a tiny girl sitting quietly among the blooms. Her eyes lingered on it for a moment, then lifted to meet his. "That's beautiful," he said softly. "I can almost feel the sun and the breeze just looking at it." She shifted nervously, biting her lip. I like making things feel alive," she murmured. "Even when I can't do everything other kids do, I can create my own world. A place where I belong." He leaned forward, resting his forearms on the table. "And you do belong," he said firmly. "Even here, even now, your world matters. And so do you." She looked at him, her eyes glossy with unshed tears. She had spent so much time feeling different, invisible, or unimportant. And yet, in this simple act of recognition, she felt seen in a way she never had before. I never thought anyone would understand," she whispered, her voice trembling. "People usually just stare or feel sorry for me. They don't notice the real me." He nodded slowly, his gaze steady and reassuring. "That's because most people look at what you don't have, instead of what you do. But you've got strength, creativity, and heart. That's what counts. That's what makes you remarkable." She lowered her gaze to her drawings, trying to hide the emotions welling up inside. "You really mean that?" she asked quietly, her voice barely audible. "I do," he said with a warm smile. "I see your courage. I see your talent. I see you. And anyone who overlooks that, they're the ones missing out." A single tear escaped, sliding down her cheek. She sniffled, embarrassed, but he simply smiled gently, making no move to rush her, giving her the space to feel her emotions fully. For the first time, she didn't feel ashamed of her tears. Instead, they felt like a release, a way to acknowledge the hurt and the hope coexisting inside her. "Thank you," she whispered again, voice thick. I didn't know it could feel like this, to be noticed, really noticed." He nodded, a lump forming in his throat. "Everyone deserves that," he said softly. "And today, you've earned it. Just by being you." In that quiet cafe, amidst the scent of coffee and the soft chatter around them, something shifted. A fragile trust had begun to grow, a recognition that vulnerability could be met with kindness, and that even small moments of understanding could change a life. The cafe had grown quieter as the afternoon edged toward evening. Sunlight dipped low, casting golden streaks across the wooden floors. The girl sat back in her chair, her crutch resting nearby, and for the first time that day, she felt a sense of calm she hadn't known in years. Her notebook lay open, filled with drawings that now seemed to radiate a new confidence. The man watched her with a gentle warmth, noticing the small but powerful changes in her posture. She held her head a little higher, her hands moved with steadier purpose, and her eyes sparkled with a hint of courage. "You know," he said softly, "sometimes all it takes is one person to see the light in you. And that light, it's brighter than you think." She swallowed hard, tears slipping freely now, but this time they weren't just sadness, they were a mixture of relief, gratitude, and hope. I never thought anyone would say that to me," she whispered, voice thick with emotion. "I always thought people only saw what I couldn't do." He shook his head, his smile gentle but firm. "No, that's never the truth. What people see is often limited by what they notice. But you have a gift, and your spirit is strong. Don't let anyone make you doubt it." Her lips quivered, then curled into a small, tentative smile. She closed her notebook, cradling it against her chest as if it were a treasure she had rediscovered. "Thank you," she said again, more steadily this time. "For seeing me, for really seeing me." He reached across the table, lightly touching the edge of her notebook, a gesture of encouragement rather than intrusion. "Always," he said simply. "And remember, your world, the one you create, the one only you can see, is yours. And it's beautiful. For a moment, they sat in silence, letting the weight of the day settle. Around them, the cafe seemed ordinary, but for the girl, everything had changed. She felt lighter, braver, and unexpectedly joyful. The tears that had threatened to drown her earlier were now the seeds of something new: hope, confidence, and the knowledge that she wasn't alone. As she rose to leave, her crutch steady beneath her, she looked back at him and smiled. A full, genuine smile that reached her eyes. "I'll keep drawing," she promised softly. "And I'll try to remember that I'm enough." He nodded, his heart full, watching as she moved toward the door, her figure small but determined. In that moment, a simple act of kindness had blossomed into a profound connection, one that neither of them would ever forget, a reminder that sometimes, seeing someone truly, can change everything.